Here we go. Welcome back to Stocks by the Numbers. And of course, I had to do a quick update on one of our favorite stocks here on the channel that was doing well before it got hit with some of that BS. But it still remains to be seen. Again, if you recall, there was still the DOJ investigation supposedly on the table. So we may still get a little bit of a negative headline pertaining to this stock. But in my opinion, I still like it. Super microcomputer symbol SMCI. So a lot of these recent like Barron's updates and whatnot are speaking about they still haven't announced their earnings date yet. And you can see that it was slated for like the first couple of days in February. But remember, they have that extension from the exchange out till the 25th, I believe, February 25th, to maintain compliance. So I don't like to assume too much, but I would probably make the assumption that hopefully that gets filed on time. And of course, the fact that earnings will probably come out, I mean, they should come out like a week or so before that. So, this was saying first week of February, if they're, the 25th, the deadline. So maybe, yeah, like the 14th, the 16th or something, we'll get some earnings potentially on SMCI. But again, in my eyes, as long as they're not completely forbidden from doing business with the other companies, then chances are, in my eyes, it's probably going to be good over time. They already mentioned that they have people like Nvidia, AMD, Microsoft, right? Those are their customers. And over time, the revenue has been climbing nicely. Company got listed on the S&P, did a 10-for-1 stock split, right? But of course, we want to get into the more juicy news, which is why I'm so excited today, is the fact that Hindenburg Research, they came out, they did the short seller report on SMCI and a bunch of other companies as well, Roblox, Carl Icahn Enterprises. But supposedly, they're dissolving the firm or whatever. He's stepping down. And now there is an investigation being launched into Hindenburg Research, supposedly alleging that they were colluding with hedge funds. And that is literally one of the, at the time, viewed as probably a wild, outside of the box theory and prediction that was made by yours truly when we did an update all the way back in August when we got the news. I straight up said, in my opinion, I wouldn't be shocked if they knew someone else behind the scenes, so they put out the report to bring the stock down so someone else could buy it. But we also spoke about Susquehanna stepping in, taking a 5% stake in SMCI as it was getting beaten up. And now, again, we find out that Hindenburg Research... Here, wait a minute. Yep, okay. The company counts Nvidia, Intel, AMD, Microsoft among its customers. Hit a snag last August. Short seller Hindenburg Research accused the company of accounting irregularities, and they re-go over basically all of those updates that they said. Oh, they fired their auditor, right? People, they always have to keep mentioning that. We spoke about that. Shares of Hindenburg short target firm surge, right? So you can see this was a handful of days ago, but a batch of Hindenburg Research's short targets jump on Thursday after founder Nathan Anderson announced on Wednesday he would disband the firm. Hindenburg bet against publicly listed companies they believed had accounting issues, was being mismanaged, or committing fraud, typically following a long period of investigation. Carl Icahn Enterprises had a pop, Jack Dorsey's Square, Carvana popped, and also Roblox and DraftKings, right? But one of the main ones that people saw on that list was SMCI. And again, we have absolutely decimated the value of this company based on a short report from a quote-unquote investigation into a firm that has now closed its doors preemptively, and then we find out that they're supposedly being investigated for colluding with hedge funds. So I just have to laugh. Right? They pointed the finger at SMCI, meanwhile it was them doing the shady shit all along. Now, granted, again, there could still be some issues with SMCI. Again, as I mentioned, you still got the DOJ investigation, right? So anything could come out. We could still get a negative headline. They can get fined. The stock might drop, obviously, on the news. Even if we might feel that it could be very undervalued in the numbers. Remember, these stocks move off of the catalysts and off of the news updates. So even if it's chugging along here at, the low 30s, and then let's just say tomorrow, like, oh yeah, they found them guilty of doing this and this, so they're going to have to pay a fine of $200 million. Even if we feel the stock is low, it's still going to drop down, right? On that news. All the short sellers are going to jump in, they're going to hit it, they're going to try to trade it real quick, right? So something like that you have to, of course, be aware of. But again, I just find it hilarious that Hindenburg was like so adamant, like, oh no, they're committing fraud. We looked at this and their servers are nonsense. I don't even remember half the crap they said. And then all of a sudden now, months later, we find out, oh yeah, we're closing up shop. Oh, and by the way, we're being investigated for working behind the scenes with some of these hedge funds based on our short seller reports. There's nothing new under the sun. Any of my investors out there who were in like their mid to late 30s, 40s, 60s, of course, any of you men and women who have been around, this is just another day on Wall Street. I'm not taken back by this news. Because again, I actually said it could potentially be one of the outcomes. But Hindenburg said it will close down. Yeah, it's funny. They don't really speak about it too much, do they? Chip stocks rise after Taiwan Semiconductors, record quarterly profit. Short seller research firm specializing in forensic financial research announced Wednesday it's closing up shop. Again, Hindenburg, this was the 15th. So I know I'm coming a few days later, but I did want to do a video regardless. Founder wrote, quote, the intensity and focus has come at the cost of missing a lot of the rest of the world and the people I care about. I now view Hindenburg as a chapter in my life. His company focused, okay. Recent and critical reports by the firm have focused on Carvana, Roblox, Supermicro. Said it shorted the shares of these companies before publishing its reports on them. Right, Icon accused Ponzi-like scheme. Sued the company after the report came out. Case was dismissed. Company called the claims meritless. Open source every aspect of our model and how we conduct our investigations. Right? So, just think about what just happened, realistically. This company came out, supposedly put so much weight into this report against SMCI and others obviously as well. Carl Icahn, again, they mentioned DraftKings, Roblox. And then all of a sudden you decide to step down, right, while you're making these calls against a lot of these trending stocks, and you're taking a lot of people back with this news, right? People were sitting there saying, wait, hold on, SMCI is doing crazy crap. Now it's down huge. Oh, hold on. You made a report about Roblox now. You're saying they're doing shady crap. Like all of a sudden you start hitting all these companies. And then randomly you come out and say you're closing up shop, you want to step down, spend more time with the family, which is like the biggest PC statement you can give. And now all of a sudden you randomly want to open source every aspect of our model and how we conduct our investigation. So all of a sudden now you're opening up the curtains and showing everyone how you conduct your business and how you conduct your investigations. And then simultaneously now you're looking to get investigated based on colluding with hedge funds. Think about the series of events that just transpired here at Hindenburg, right? Just think about that. So, in my opinion, based on these actions and based on what I've personally heard just over the last couple of days, yeah, I think they're guilty. I think they're guilty. Just straight up coming out of left field. Another article from Barron saying they're waiting for earnings. It was just too darn funny when I read that news, man. Too darn funny. And that's why SMCI, again, had a nice 5% pop today. I know Trump, of course, talking about the $500 billion investment into AI, and these are the things that we speculated about several months ago when people were asking me, what would you buy if Trump wins? What do you think is going to do well? We were speaking about the reinvestment back into American infrastructure, American technology, and that's why all of these, again, we know Nvidia right now is the leader in the AI space, right? But again, that's why I spoke about more of the backup players that are going to have to fill that void when it comes to the rising demand. They're going to have to. And that's why, in my opinion, I mean, depends on the management, of course, but overall, companies like SMCI, companies like AMD, right? I spoke about IBM. Intel, I know, is struggling, but I personally feel there's still value there in the company, whether they get absorbed or not from someone else. But most of our domestic tech companies should do very well. And that's why SMCI, I can appreciate the fact if they won't rocket it back up to 100 because of the potential investigation still on the table, understandable. However, this stock, this stock was coming down into the 50s, and then we got news of the Hindenburg Research, which now we found out several months later might be complete BS in and of itself. So that's why, in my eyes, we probably have to cancel out the big drop and volatility that we had based on that catalyst if there is now big potential that it wasn't real, right? So now we're going to have to back up to 50 plus. So in my opinion, I got to say, I do still like SMCI. I like it even more now after this Hindenburg news hit. And again, that's why I floated the idea, because we were looking at the numbers and we were looking at the increased guidance that they were bumping up. It seemed so good that we had something that was ready to grow like a weed. And then all of a sudden, they're doing shady stuff behind. Yeah, okay. And now several months later, you're being investigated. People raising the flag saying, you were bringing these stocks down potentially so that other associates, affiliations that you have, well, not really affiliations, but you know what I mean, other people that you're associated with, you can then, tip them off, help them out, and now they can buy something like SMCI. Instead of buying it at 58, they can buy it at 28. Let me tell you something. When you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, that is a huge difference in profits, right? Down the road when you're looking to sell. That is a huge difference in profits. So if we find out that's really what they were doing, SMCI, in my opinion, along with all the other ones, Icon Enterprises, DraftKings, all the other ones, they should pop up. Some of them already are, Carvana. But again, on this news, like a retracement back up here to this trend line, that's what I mean, like 52, 53, right back kind of to where it was when that research came out. In my opinion, that makes 100% sense. But again, we know that something like this is very volatile, and what I'm predicting is not guaranteed, right? This is just my opinion. I'm just laying out what I think should happen, but that doesn't mean it will happen. So what does that mean? That means that if you are going to step in and buy like weekly calls or something like that, just, be careful, understand the risks involved, okay? Because it could still take some time. But on stock charts here, the RSI is sub 49, basically middle of the road. The stock is just hanging out at the 50-day moving average. You can see technically closed above it by about 40 cents. But look at the tightening now taking place in the Bollinger Bands, right? Last time we had tightening like this, the stock flattened out and then happened to drop. But usually, again, we speak about the tightening of the Bollinger Bands, and usually that's a breakup or a breakdown. Now, based on the news of reinvesting back into America and 500 billion American tech, this is why, and again, with the catalyst of Hindenburg Research shutting down and potentially being investigated after SMCI was one of their targets, I feel that we could remain flat, but then technically we really should break up from the Bollinger Band tightening. We really shouldn't break down. But again, that's just my opinion. MACD also looks like it's curling and just about to touch and potentially cross to the upside, right? So we have a couple of technicals potentially lining up for a pop-up. RSI on the weekly sitting here 42.5, could definitely start running. Top Bollinger Band 52.70, essentially right near our trend line of about 53, right? And basically where the stock was when the report came out. That's why I'm saying now, with them shutting down, this is why it really should run back to 50. I still have a personal long-term price target of $200 plus a share, which all said and done over the long term, we could still see. But right here in the short term, again, if they were chilling in the 50s and the research report brought them down here, then if that was a wash, then we really should bring it right back to where it was when that report came out. MACD crossed back to the upside. What was that? December, still above, hanging out at the mid Bollinger Band. But again, we have the tightness on the daily Bollinger Band, so we could see a little pop-up breakout over there. Pivot point last year was 40. This one here, 57.83. Of course, in my opinion, it should be there, but who knows? Maybe they'll bring it down, retest the 200-day moving average, 24.62. Anything can happen. If we pop up, pivot point above 36.14. That would, well, wait a minute. This would be tomorrow. 36, yeah, 20 cents higher would go back to that support trend line that we were above, that we were looking at, that we recently dropped below, right? And you can see we were fighting here. Let me zoom in. You can see how it was bouncing off and fighting to get back to that 20-day moving average. And then today we have the pop and the stock closes above the 20-day. So that's why we might now be on the up and up back to this line to get back into bullish momentum, back above support, and then we can run potentially back to 50 plus and go back to pre-Hindenburg, if you will. 42 1/3, low 54s. Yeah, in my opinion, I still like it again. And I know people may mention the DOJ investigation, and of course, you cross that bridge when you get to it. And depending on what their actual findings are, and what, if anything, SMCI may be liable for, then we can obviously reassess, reevaluate on that news, and decide maybe if it's not worth it, or if this is just a little speed bump, and in 2-3 years, the stock will probably be back up, right? So we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, but just wanted to do a little update on SMCI because I think it is going to go back to 50 plus. And hearing that Hindenburg news, man, I had a smile on from ear to ear, baby. It was glorious. And shout out, I'm sorry I don't have your name, but shout out to someone who left that comment to me. And I thought they were joking. And they said, no, it was just confirmed. And I pulled it up and I saw it. So it's amazing how things work out sometimes, right? But that's pretty much it. I'll end it there. Once again, Stocks by the Numbers, I want to thank you for stopping by. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop it down in the comments section. I'm usually pretty quick to reply. Thumbs up algorithm helps me get more eyes on the channel. And of course, subscribe to the channel. That is our handshake agreement. That is how you help me help you. But more importantly, moving forward, like I always say, I understand that markets are rocky, they're volatile, and they are very uncertain. So I do want to wish all of you success. I hope everyone makes a couple of dollars. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.